So we stopped here last time. Um, these questions are common to religion, philosophy, and higher poetry. But the kind of knowledge I was trying to differentiate between the methods of all these three disciplines. But the kind of knowledge that poetic inspiration brings is essentially individual in its character. It is figurative, vague, and indefinite. So there are four things here. So the poetic method. So obviously the type of poetry which doesn't fit this method is not the subject of this. It's an individual in character. And here what he's saying is subjective, so it's more, and this aspect is more concerned with social aspect, and in this one he is more concerned with epistemological. So figurative, what else was there? Vague and indefinite. As far as the epistemology is concerned, the objection here is its method is not fit to answer the questions we raised. Though the answer might have subjective value, not just for poet but also for others. But they lack in objectivity because their method is basically all over the place. They don't have any definite method. And if they have any method, it is not consistent. There might be certain insights which they receive through their contemplation, but those insights are vague. There's no epistemological guidelines how to interpret them in a way which would be objectively useful. It is so they can be the basis of inspiration, no doubt about that. But they can't be the basis of knowledge. So they can be the basis of inspiration, but they can't be the basis of any objective understanding of the questions we raised. So figurative, vague, indefinite, different aspects of. And this epistemological critique here, which Iqbal is alluding to himself as one of the greatest Persian and Urdu poet who ever lived, if not the greatest Urdu poet. So, and it's epistemological critique of poetry. Logical. It's Quranic in the sense that And, when Quran in Surah Al-Shu'ara, the surah which is known as poets, actually the poets, it says, among other things, الشعراء يتبعهم الغاوون ألم تر أنهم في كل واد يهيمون. So يهيمون, these poets, they go into each. Yehimun, one meaning of Yehimun is Yazhavon, like they go into each valley, kulli wadin, meaning you go to each and every corner and cranny. But they go in the sense that their walk is not the walk of someone with a definite purpose or some general knowledge of where they are going. So that's why they will go some here and then they will go there. And one of the meanings in Arabic language of Yehimun al-Haim, a person who goes in this sense, is a person who is perplexed. A person who is perplexed. So he has lost it. Lost his way. So he goes sometime this way and sometime that way, is trying to find it. But he doesn't have a definite or even determinate strategy on where they want to go and how they are going to go. So perplexed, to be perplexed is not to be scoffed upon, but it can't be a strategy. I mean, it can be a start, but it can't be a strategy to accumulate, to gain objective knowledge. Another meaning of Al-Haim, another meaning of Al-Haim. So the poets are they go to each and every valley, and from that the word Al-Haim, the one who goes, also means Al-Haim, a person who is very thirsty. And if you think of the desert in the context of which I think we may use this word, you can imagine a person who is very thirsty, but it doesn't know where the water is, and they are looking for water. They're going everywhere. They are misled by each and every reflection of the light on the sand, etc. And as you know, a lot of people die in the desert in this way. So this is a very telling depiction of the poetic epistemology which Iqbal is criticizing here, and which the Quran criticizes it. Obviously, it doesn't apply to each and every poetry, because then it goes on to say illa lazina, so except for those who don't adopt this. So that's what he is. So poetry is so, but the kind of knowledge that poetic inspiration brings is essentially individual in its character. We haven't looked at this yet. It is figurative, vague, and indefinite. So the second aspect which he criticizes is that uh, um, individual in character, I guess he wants to say individualistic. So it might be of use to individual persons or the poet himself, but not to society. They don't have any definite plan or guidance on how to live and how to build a socially harmonious society. So I guess criticizing poets for that can be legitimate only if we presuppose that that's the poetic vocation. And if poets were in certain societies the guides, in the general sense in which philosophers are guides, and for Plato, or in the sense in which prophets are guides, then this might be a legitimate criticism. I mean, he's not criticizing it as such, but he's pointing to the fact that poetry doesn't have epistemological and social grounding to give us objective knowledge or give us a guidance for a social living which can be of useful to society as a whole. And this you will see for Iqbal, this is important, like for certain Sufi or Tasawwuf in general, when he makes the same point, like at some point he differentiates between the work of a Sufi and the Prophet, on the basis that Sufi is so enchanted by his experiences that he never wants to leave those experiences and go back to the world. So it's not much use to society. On the other hand, Prophet take back those inspirations and reshape society and guide society or rebuild society, etc. I don't think it's definitely not true for Tasawwuf in general. I'm not sure how true it is for poets as well, and what role the poets had in philosophical Greek societies in terms of social reconstruction, or in Arab societies in terms of social guidance. We know they had a very important role, but was that just individualistic? Or, so we have to wait and see a bit more to make any definite point on this. So what place do we occupy? Oh, sorry. So we were here. But the kind of knowledge that poetic inspiration brings is essentially individual in or say individualistic in its character. It is figurative, vague, and indefinite. Religion in its more advanced forms. I guess, really, I think religion in its more advanced forms, meaning religion who have developed their epistemological methods and their worldview into complex systems, they have traditions, etc. So, as I said, he always talking about those basically three religions, and in fact, since he is dealing with modernity, the religion apart from Islam, which concerns him, is Christianity, and sometimes Judaism, I guess. So religion in its more advanced forms rises higher than poetry. So rises higher than poetry both in terms of its epistemology, so it has more developed epistemology, methods, disciplines dealing with those issues, and also it moves beyond individual guidance to social and political guidance. So it has social institutional guidance theories, political institutional guidance and theories, which poetry is obviously like, at least in the. And one thing I actually should have said when we were doing poetry is that one thing which makes poetry individualistic is they work as individual, and they might have certain loose tradition, but they don't have well-developed traditions of knowledge and systems and methods like religion and philosophy has. So in that sense, poetry is also individualistic. It lacks tradition in that specific sense. So religion in its more advanced form rather higher than poetry. It moves from individual to society, and in its attitude toward the ultimate reality meaning the reality of the world. What's its essence, I guess, what is its origin and where it is going. It is opposed to the limitations of man. In what sense? It enlarges his claims and holds out the prospect of nothing less than a direct vision of reality. So it is opposed to limitation of man. Limitations. And limitations obviously reminds us of Kant. And I guess he would have Kant in mind. So it enlarges its vision, so limitations. So the hope of knowing the truth. So human beings are limited in the sense that they find themselves thrown in the world, as Heidegger would have. And they don't know where they have come from and where they are going. And it's natural for humans. I mean, one attitude can be to accept this limitation, in this sense, limitations of the knowledge, uh, and and just say that we can't know, what is beyond this. But humans naturally want to know. So religion holds out the prospect of knowing the reality, the truth, the vision of reality. So the prophets, come with the knowledge of the beyond, but they also provide methods and practices through which humans can have glimpses of that truth in this world, and also hold out the prospect of knowing the reality and facing the reality as it is beyond the death, etc. So it moves from individual to society in its attitude towards the ultimate reality. So that's the first. It moves from individual to society. So it's social and political, not just individualistic. Although the reforming individual is one of the starting point, but it moves beyond and from societies and from political systems. And its attitude, and epistemologically, it's an attitude towards the ultimate reality as opposed to the limitations of man. I mean, opposed to the limitation of man, not in the sense that it doesn't recognize the limitations of man. I mean, that's one of the key differences between philosophy and religion, that religion does recognize the limitation of man. That's why it holds out for guidance. But it does deny limitation of man in the sense that it provides the hope that we can actually, despite our limitation, we can know the reality beyond our limitations. So it enlarges his claim or her claim in this sense, and holds out the prospect of nothing less than the direct vision of reality. And in Quran, as you see, it will happen again and again, and he will mention that, like most famous example is that of the Ibrahim or Ibrahim or Abraham, as we say in English, when he asked God, show me how you resurrect the dead. And God, through his angel, says to him that, don't you believe? And he says, no, I do believe. I want more than that. I want certainty. I want the contentment of my heart, etc. So that's an example of how it enlarges his claim and holds out the prospect of nothing less than a direct vision of reality at different levels. It is then possible to Is it then possible to apply the purely rational method of philosophy to religion? So now he goes to religion, and it's a good point to stop here. I'll meet next time. I will start from here.